His words echoed throughout the courtroom. Joesph the German Watts calmly told the federal court in Brooklyn, "My role was specifically to get rid of the body." Watts freely admitted his guilt in conspiring to murder Gambino soldier Thomas "Tommy Sparrow" Spinelli in 1989. His body has never been recovered. Both prosecutors and defense attorneys were tight-lipped about why Watts suddenly decided to cop a plea.
At a point we were fully prepared to proceed with the trial of Joe Watts, and at a point where the next witness to be called by the government this morning, as you all know, would have been Sammy the Bull Gravano. We were approached by the defendant and his lawyers and asked whether or not we would consider accepting his plea of guilty on the same or similar terms and conditions as had been previously offered prior to the start of trial.
But whatever the reason, one thing remains clear. Gangland's all-time rat, Salvatore Sammy Bull Gravano, escaped from having to testify, possibly casting doubt on his own credibility. And that doubt could have gone a long way towards helping mob chieftain John Gotti to appeal his conviction for murder and racketeering.
The government just didn't want Sammy Gravano on the witness stand. There's a lot of bad material with regard to him, and they just didn't want him to respond to these issues. I also think that everybody was minimizing their risks. The defense was, and so was the government.
Watts' defense attorney, F. Lee Bailey, who backed out of the case last minute because of personal financial reasons, said he had planned to tear apart Gravano's testimony on the witness stand.
I turned the plea matter over to Mr. Fishman, who handled it well.
In 3 weeks, Slotnick will represent Genovese crime leader Vincent the Chin Gigante in Brooklyn federal court at his trial. Gravano is expected to be called to the stand again as the government's key witness. Meanwhile, all other previous charges against Watts, like loan sharking and racketeering, have all been dropped. Watts was accused of being a backup shooter in the 1985 murder of Gotti's predecessor, Paul Castellano. The charge of murder has been dropped as well. Watts faces up to 6 years in prison. His sentencing date is scheduled for April 25th.